I think this MP safety is, so I interview MPs a lot, and over the last 25 years I'd say it's got far worse. So they now all have at least quadruple locks on their doors. Some of the women wear stab vests. I remember one woman explained to me that you could never stand near the edge of a tube, you stood right back. None of the women want to wear heels in case they have to run, and that just wasn't the case 25 years ago. I'm not quite sure how we make them any safer.
And now we're going to be unpacking the politics of the day, from whether politics has darkened to whether there's a Pestminster witch hunt, and also the Cabinet's leaving gift for Keir Starmer. And with me in the studio, it's the gift that keeps on giving every Wednesday. It's Alice Thomson. Hello, Alice.
Hi, Hugo.
And Robert Crampon. Hello, Robert.
Hi, Hugo.
Not dressed the same today.
Yeah, well, you could
no,
try.
I got shorts and a shirt on,
Robert's still in his low chair as well, which is quite tricky.
You could also, Robert, be wearing a rather fetching white tea dress. I think that would look excellent.
Yeah, I'd go for that. Yeah.
Well, in fact, we all could. We can make it a uniform. Look, we've got a lot to cover, so let's get moving. I want to start with the story on the front of today's Times. The government plans to raise the state pension age to 68 between 2037 and 2039, bringing that shift forwards by at least 7 years. It means about 5 million people currently aged between 49 and 55 will have to work an extra year. I believe the threshold means I will miss it by just a month. Ooh. Lucky me. But more and more of us generally going to have to work for longer and longer and longer. Robert, is this good or bad?
I think it's good. I say that as somebody who likes their job, however. So I'm mindful that a lot of people don't like their job and are keen to quit and get their pension. But I don't see any other way that we can handle this, really, given the balance of the population, the tax base, the age, just the basic demographics of so many people getting a pension, and the fact that these retirement levels were set at a time when we lived a lot shorter life. So, I mean, now you can expect to live to 81, 82, I think, for a man, roughly that, longer for a woman. And so, it's got to be. I think it's inevitable and necessary.
I mean, people do live longer, Alice, but the days are gone also where people could expect to be in the same job from, school leaving to retirement. And depending on one's career, it's pretty hard to get a new job if you lose your job at 60. You'd think a lot of people could be caught short by this.
I think they could. I mean, I have been in the same job since 21, so it's strange, but I think that's changing. What really upsets me about this is I think it's yet again putting everything onto the younger generation. So, and I speak as someone who is over 55, but I do think that there's everything's going down. They're they're just too worried and too anxious to put anything on anyone now. And I do think you need to raise the retirement age, but there are all these pensions on the triple lock, and it always comes back to this triple lock. But they should be paying too. They are the wealthiest now in the country, and I just think it's unfair to make the younger cohorts constantly pay for the older ones. So I would say we're doing that, but we're also going to do the triple lock.
It's also unfair. I mean, there's a lot of anger below the line under our piece today from people who are fed up with the benefits, the idea that we're always going to be finding more money from people who are already paying in, and the sort of the chunk of the population, is it 53% now take out more than they give in. At some stage that they've got to make a contribution as well. So that I think I can see that there's legitimate anger about people say, well, I've worked all this time, and now you're asking me to do another year and you're not willing to address the people who aren't contributing.
I've just done my maths a little better, and I've realised I don't miss it by a month. I, in fact, get dragged in by a month because it goes in the other direction, doesn't it? I can't be too young for this. I'm bang on it. Damn, how annoying. Suddenly, I'm against it. Look,
but I think there's a stat from the OECD this morning saying that state pension now, I'm not sure if this is correct, but it said that state pension now accounts for 5% of our GDP, and if we continue going with the triple lock, by 2070 it's going to account for 9%. Well, it's just not sustainable.
And Robert's right. The thing that you really can't have is just a fewer people are actually doing more and more, so they're going to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze that kind of middle-aged, middle-class working cohort. And I kind of think you have to do something to balance it, don't you? I mean, if you are a pensioner or you are on benefits, you just, it's just going to get easier, and that I think that's just going to grate on people at the end.
Well, I mean, the proportion of our national our tax generally that goes to the over 60s, and I say this as someone who fully intends to be over 60 one day, it's just sort of staggeringly high, every step they can possibly take to address that will be painful. But I agree with you both when you say maybe we've just kind of got to. Let's move on. Andy Burnham has called for a review of MPs' safety following the death of Anne Widdecombe, saying that in the decade that he was away from Westminster, politics has darkened. Meanwhile, just this morning, Zia Yusuf has been calling for all Reform MPs to receive police protection. What do you think about this, Alice? Is politics worse and darker than it was 10 years ago?
I think this MP safety is. So I interview MPs a lot, and over the last 25 years, I'd say it's got far worse. So they now all have at least quadruple locks on their doors. Some of the women wear stab vests. I remember one woman explained to me that you could never stand near the edge of a tube. You stood right back. None of the women want to wear heels in case they have to run. And that just wasn't the case 25 years ago. I don't think they thought about it in the same way. And men have the same issues, that they are much more worried and anxious, and they don't get full security. But we can never give them the kind of security that prime ministers have. I mean, we've got 8 former prime ministers, and we're spending 25 million quid a year on them, just making sure that they're safe. And you couldn't do that to all MPs and former MPs. It would be too expensive. So I'm not quite sure how we make them any safer.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this a bit this week, Robert, and look, I mean, one thing that's very clear is the nature of the threat has changed. I mean, I grew up as a cabinet minister's kid in a house of panic buttons and devices to check under cars for bombs and all that kind of stuff. And when we were in London, there was security and all that kind of stuff. But my dad was in the cabinet, and you think about what kind of protection you should be giving to the average MP. You're getting pretty far down the list before you're giving any protection to somebody like, for example, Anne Widdecombe, who was no longer an MP, who'd been retired from frontline politics. She was a Reform spokesman, but retired from frontline politics for really quite some time.
Yeah, and in those days you knew where the threat was coming from. It was coming from Republican, extreme Irish Republicans.
It was IRA, and then it was Al Qaeda.
Yeah,
and now it's any maniac with a grudge.
And we had Erin Eve. And Ian Gow and the Brighton bomb. So I mean, they were dangerous times. But now, like you say, it's just somebody who basically decides, I don't like you, and is willing to travel. Well, I don't know. We mustn't prejudge the case, but
yeah, sure.
Yes, I mean it's very worrying, and it means, I mean, who'd be an MP? I think we're all slightly culpable in this because. MPs they get a very bad press. I mean, they are sort of routinely and casually abused in the media. It's a sort of byword for corruption and laziness and overpaid and all the rest of it. I think we need to be really careful about that because we're sort of slightly reaping some of that now, I think.
Well, I see where you're coming from, and part of me agrees with you, but then I sort of think. There aren't that many. There will always be maniacs. There aren't that many maniacs. When there are maniacs, they can do enormous damage, particularly to individuals. As we've seen, and every MP that has been murdered in the past 10 years has arguably been killed by a maniac rather than a terrorist. Although there's a fine line between the two.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I necessarily want us to moderate and change our national debate on the basis of what one crazed individual may or may not do because he reads the wrong thing.
No, I think the problem is we are going to have to, because we can't actually afford to give more protection. And it isn't just that. It isn't just the maniacs. If you talk to MPs now, they say when they used to go down the street, people might have said things, even when social media started, they'd say stuff on social media, they'd say stuff behind their backs, but they would send them quite polite emails or before letters, and they'd be quite nice to them on the street. Then now they shout and hurl abuse, and that is very different. And I think that is particularly frightening if you're a woman on your own and late at night on a train. A lot of them say now they just don't go on trains or public transport because they're so nervous about what the reaction of people's going to be. And we've lost that kind of I'd say it's a sort of, it's just a sense of grace of realising these are human beings.
But can you track that back to what the press writes about politicians, what politicians say about politicians? I don't know. I'm
not sure. I mean, you can track it back. I mean, it's been going on a long time, as long as I've been aware of politics. Really, this erosion of trust in political institutions has been going on. I suppose the more proximate cause would be the expenses scandal, which was the final straw for a lot of people, and Partygate and all the rest of it. I'm not saying we should moderate our national debate. I just think we need to be careful in making the assumption that all politicians are kind of weirdos or in it for themselves, because they're not. When they do things wrong, they should be held to account, but it shouldn't just be assumed that they are any more than it should have been assumed in the past that they were the paragons of virtue. They shouldn't be assumed that they're now complete scoundrels. And
I sometimes wonder if my perspective on this is sort of warped through proximity. Because, like growing up as the son of a Conservative in Scotland in the 1980s, animosity was a given. It was always there. Just before
but
we
you
move on,
didn't have it online, did you? I mean, that was the difference.
There was no online.
So
but you had it in the playground, and you had it on rare occasion. You had it in the street, and once or twice you had it spray painted on the front of a house. It was there. I guess before we move on from this, we've not got much longer on this topic, but do you both think, and you mentioned this before, Robert, but Alice, I'll come to you on this first, is this going to put off people from becoming MPs in the first place? Is this going to change the kind of person who was just prepared to do the job?
Yeah, I think it's completely changed it. I look at the young now, and a lot of them want to go into think tanks, which is kind of like they went into the civil service, or there weren't really that many think tanks, and now they want to do other stuff. They want to be researchers, but they don't actually want to be an MP. They don't want to be in the firing line, and I think that is sad. But that's not just about safety. That's just about, they look at it and they think this is just a farce, and particularly for my generation of politicians. I mean, I think Boris is only one of them, but the fact that you've had so many prime ministers, I mean, they've just, if you're like 18 now, you've just gone through like 7 prime ministers. That's just too much for them.
Robert?
Yeah, absolutely. And undeniably it put people off. People get frightened. I mean, and there have been examples of MPs who have stood down, haven't they? Because they didn't want to do this anymore. And totally understand it.
I'm currently unpacking the politics of the day with Alice Thomson and Robert Crampon. Alice, let's talk about Pestminster. It's basically a crowdsourced spreadsheet of bullying or sexual harassment allegations against roughly 60 MPs, many of them Labour MPs. It's being handed to Andy Burnham's transition team, and in your column in the Times today, you call on Burnham to end the Pestminster witch hunt. Tell us more.
Yeah, well, you've said it. There's something I think that is just really unedifying about a group of women who aren't named. No one knows who they are, apart from a few journalists, and they have leaked the fact that they've got this spread list of, it was 30, it's now nearly 60, which has a few cabinet ministers, a few ex-cabinet ministers, senior men who have done what they think is sort of this inappropriate behaviour, but then one of them said it's just people who aren't very nice. I mean, that's just not enough. I mean, either they should do something and they should come up against the authorities, or it should be looked at by the police if it's something like rape or if it's any sort of sexual allegation. But these are sort of kind of nebulous bullying allegations, and no one can really pin down exactly what they've done, or they've had affairs, or they've been too tough, or one of them smashed a phone, I think, in the office, and that kind of stuff. It's just really, I think there's already a very febrile atmosphere in Westminster. If you go around as a group of women calling out other Labour men and saying they're not good enough to be in the cabinet and they're not good enough to be in the government, I think that's very dangerous.
It's like a whispering campaign, isn't it, Robert?
Yeah, it seems really unjust. I mean, I think there's one thing to mark Burnham's card to say that this person might come back to bite you if you appoint them to a senior position because they've done this, that and the other. That was just sort of reasonable due diligence. But the idea that bullying is notoriously hard to define, and for a lot of younger people, bullying can often be equated with "please do your job better."
Yeah.
And so obviously it's. I mean, Alice is right. It's completely. It's unfair. You can't have this sort of unsubstantiated. And also, given the nature of politics, people will be using it to do their rivals down, won't they?
Do you think, Alice, have your views on this changed since the kind of sort of peak Me Too era? Because there was this sort of enormous empowerment of women banding together, speaking out against creepy men back then, which led to some sort of fairly major changes, or at least some major prosecutions. But do you think, I don't know, is there a sort of a low-level snideness that sets into this kind of thing that undoes any good that it ever did?
I don't think it's undone any good. I think after Me Too it was good because they did put due process into the House of Commons, and there are now routes that you can, there's a helpline you can ring up. There's the Whip's office, which has got slightly better, although the Whip's office is an odd one because actually what they're trying to do is force you to vote with the government, so it's all about loyalty. So they find out stuff about MPs and then they can use it against you. I think Andy Burnham wants to make it more like an HR department, and actually in a funny way, I agree with him that it should be more about making sure that MPs are behaving. But it's the ad hoc nature of this. It's the fact that it is a whispering campaign, that it's a sort of vigilante hunt by a group of women, and I think that's wrong.
And if you might have somebody who's a strong personality who's then excluded from doing a job which they would do well. I mean, you always used to say that you've got to find 100 people to form a government, and once you got rid of the drunks and the nutters and the lazy people and so forth, you were often struggling. Mm-hmm. And if you're getting rid of the sort of forceful person, I'm not saying bullying should be tolerated, but if you're getting rid of people who are just kind of forceful and efficient, then you're going to let other people.
You're maybe not going to have very many left. Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Let's talk about new social media rules. The government is introducing default settings for 16 and 17-year-olds that block social media access between midnight and 6 a.m. and disable infinite scrolling and mandate breaks on AI chatbots as well. But they can easily be turned off. So the Online Safety Minister, Kanisha Narayan, was asked on Times Radio Breakfast this morning whether it was all entirely pointless.
No, it's not pointless, and it's not pointless for a couple of reasons. One, because young people themselves told us that they wanted support. They didn't want a cliff edge, they wanted a smoother slope. The second thing to say is that when we've actually looked at instances like this, in October, for example, some platforms introduced features that young people could turn on and off. 90% or so of young people kept those on, and so I think we do a disservice to young people if we say that they're just all going to switch it off and not value the support that I think this offers.
Alice, I think I agree it's not pointless, because I think we've got to get beyond this thing, and we are getting beyond this thing of like either something works 100% or there's no point in doing it, and that's just not how these things work.
I think this will help, actually. I think there's a change in mood. So I remember when my kids were younger in lockdown, we did try and turn off the internet at night. Do you know what I mean? That was the sort of moment when we thought this is the only way to do it at 11 o'clock at night, and that didn't really work. But I reckon that children now know that there's something wrong about social media. They know that it's not helping them. They know they're not sleeping. They're more anxious, and so I think it may help some of them. I mean, I'd like it to be tougher, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I think it would. I think it's just easier. I think they do. The fact that they don't, most children now sleep so much less than they used to, and that then affects the whole of the rest of your life. It's not just the fact of what you see online; it's the fact that it's distracting you from sleeping and doing exercise and getting out and seeing your friends.
But I mean, you can't. I mean, can one? Should one legally restrict 16-year-olds from social media? I mean, they're old enough to. They'll soon be old enough to vote. They can smoke. They can't smoke anymore. So they can get married and join the army at any rate.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the difficult bit, is sort of what the age limits are and all of this. And actually, it's quite difficult to take a phone away from a child at 16. But before 16, you just don't have the phones in the bedroom. I mean, that's what I say that, actually, having not done any of that. But I would. I suspect.
But I should have done.
I should have done it. It's one I do regret, looking back, that I wasn't tougher about it all.
We're pretty good on phones in the bedroom, but all other bets increasingly are just off. But then my kids are getting older and older. Robert, what do you think?
I don't know where this cliff edge argument has come from. We never used to hear this phrase, and if you have an age restriction on something, then there's a cliff edge. You can go into a pub a day. Yeah. You can buy a drink in a pub on your 18th birthday, and you can't the day before.
So I buy the cliff edge argument, because I think the people who the internet has made absolutely mad, the maddest, are sort of middle-aged men.
Yeah.
No one's gone as crazy since the dawn of the internet as men.
No, I agree. I mean, as you know, I think social media has, on balance, been a disaster. So anything that restricts access to it for 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, or for, as you say, underemployed, angry 75-year-olds, is a good thing.
Well,
but yes, it should. I think it should. Like Alice, I think it should have been tougher. I think, and I can't believe that it's taken this long to pull our fingers out and say that it might be bad to have a 16-year-old up at 2 a.m. scrolling through a load of nonsense, and that means that their life chances or their academic chances are impaired. Obviously, it does.
Well, look, speaking of restrictions designed to make us safer, new guidance recommends slashing speed limits on country lanes and in rural villages from the national 60-mile-an-hour default down to 20 miles an hour to protect pedestrians and cyclists. What do you reckon, Robert?
It's weird. I mean, I was up in Norfolk recently, and on a winding country lane, and it was the national speed limit applies, the default option, and there's no way people should have been driving 60 miles an hour or even approaching it along that lane. I saw the stat that says 2/3 of road deaths are in rural areas. Equally, we've had the situation in and around London where you're going what seems to be at an artificially slow pace 20 miles an hour on a fairly main road. But, yeah, broadly speaking, I'm in favour of it. I am, because I think 60 on some of these windy country lanes with big groups of cyclists, walkers. I mean, one of the myths about the countryside is that it's great for walking. It's actually appalling to go for a walk in the countryside because you're walking along the side of a main road a lot of the time.
And people are thundering along.
Correct, yeah. So I don't know about 20 miles an hour, but I think there should be a reduction. I think, case by case basis, it should be be sensible about it.
Alice?
I've had to go on a speed awareness course, which you both probably haven't, but when they do...
I have, yeah.
The most surprising thing they tell you on the speed awareness course is that most people die on country roads, and actually some of the people around me then suddenly realised that they could speed on a motorway. They were like, oh, obviously, like the motorways are really quite safe. But where I am in Devon, when I go down at weekends, the roads are really, really narrow. They're single lane roads anyway, and they've got these incredibly high hedges, so you can't go very fast. I think 20 is going to be too low on quite a lot of roads. I think if you've got, and I think that people are pretty savvy who actually live there. It's people who come down. I would say 40 is probably about right. I think 20, what you're finding, and this is really difficult to explain to obviously the people who did this to have not lived in the countryside, but you want to explain to them, it's not like London. You can't get on your bike and go everywhere. These are really large distances people in the country are covering. So they're going to have to get in the car. When they say it's going to have fewer people in the car, you have to get in your car. There is no public transport in a lot of places. The buses have stopped. There is no other way of getting around. And if you're going to say you can only go at 20 miles an hour, that's going to be really tough.
I once made the mistake of riding on my e-bike from Colchester to Mersey Island, which is only about 15 miles, and I thought that's all going to be little lanes. It'll be lovely. It's absolutely terrifying because everyone's going 70 something past you. I reckon I can fix this one. You just incorporate this in the highway code. If you are on a country lane, don't know if it'd be single track or double track. We can debate that. And you are passing a cyclist, a pedestrian, or a horse, you have to slow down to 20/30 miles an hour. That's it.
People do it. People are very mindful about people on horseback.
I'd say slower than 20.
Well, 20 miles an hour. Go past a horse at 20 or 30. Yeah,
but they're less mindful of cyclists. There's quite a lot of antipathy towards cyclists, stirred up by certain individuals in the media, and. I don't know. I mean, maybe, the point is that, if you get hit by a car at 20, you're probably going to survive anything much above that, and you're probably not. That's the stark fact of it, isn't it? If you get hit,
and also Robert's right, it's really hard to walk around in the countryside. So we live, if you're on, say, Exmoor or Dartmoor, you can go anywhere, and I kind of assumed that's what the countryside was, and then you go somewhere else, and there really is nowhere to walk. They're kind of that you have to stick to kind of footpaths and roads, don't you? So you're walking down endless roads, which is weird.
A lot more in London than my friends in the suburbs and the countryside.
Nowhere to go for a walk in the countryside unless you can find a path. Keir Starmer hosted Cabinet for the final time this morning, and Patrick Maguire reports that David Lammy organised a whip round for a leaving gift, and they got him a carriage clock. I don't know what I think about this. Is it a bit bleak, a carriage clock? Is it a bit 1930s? Apparently it was very nice. It's crafted by the Big Ben clockmakers, Dent, London, but it's so impersonal, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is... I felt a sort of wave of sadness come over me when I read this story. That's grim. That is grim. I wouldn't want to get one of those.
I quite like a good carriage clock.
No, I wouldn't.
I'd rather not lose my job to have to get one, to be fair.
But also, it's so impersonal. It shows that he had no personality or character. There was nothing
What is he like? What can we get him? We'll get him some new glasses. Oh, no.
If you don't have any hobbies, it's kind of weird because normally you're like, fishing or you're
like... Arsenal, isn't it? They could have gotten some nice Arsenal memorabilia.
You could have done something that was just looked as if you cared, A, and B, you knew what the person was like, and they might actually use you. The thing about carriage clock is you can't use it really.
Yeah. And there's lots of other ways to tell the time, and they're pretty they're pretty ugly things as well.
Even a watch would have been good.
Yeah, watch would have been great actually, because most people don't have them anymore.
Yeah, no.
So I thought that was. I wonder how much they raised. How much does a carriage clock from Dent cost?
I don't know. We should find out.
Somebody needs to find that out.
It might be quite a lot.
Yeah,
but it's not going to be that much, is it? It's not going to be.
I would have thought so.
You think if the man's put you in the cabinet, you put forward at least £100, right, for his living.
I would have thought that would be an order. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not every day you get in the cabinet.
Yeah, or you give him something like you could say, because he's not going to get all the freebies anymore. Maybe you get him tickets for something. Wouldn't you? You'd do something that you thought.
Yeah, so like an experience.
Yeah,
like a parachute jump or something.
Pam gets in touch. She says, "Please clarify. It's a maximum of 10 miles per hour passing a horse." Yes, thank you, Pam.
Yes.
Even 10's probably pushing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yes, indeed. Let's talk about a bit about football.
Yes, this is
small matter of England's World Cup semi-final tonight. Now, look,
so annoyed by
I've been speaking in the last hour on the show to the SNP MP Jack Middleton, who told me why his party is encouraging Scots to back Argentina, which has created a bit of a backlash on the text messages from English listeners. But he told me everyone should just lighten up. Listen to this.
If I had a word of advice for England fans and the English media too, I think it would be, don't take yourselves so seriously. Take a leaf out of Scotland's book. We can go abroad to the World Cup, we can have a drink, we can have a laugh, we can make friends, instead of crying about Scotland supporting other teams, instead of some of your supporters having too many drinks and lobbing plastic chairs off folks' heads. Maybe just have a laugh about it. Don't take yourselves too seriously.
Robert, rarely have I seen you so cross.
Yeah, it's really annoyed me. I mean, he can't just say something that inflammatory and then to tell everyone to chill out. And that's just not right.
Is it that inflammatory?
It is for me, actually. I would, if it was Scotland against Argentina tonight, I would be fervently in favour of Scotland winning.
It's not like and like.
Yeah, but whenever Scotland, say in the rugby, if Scotland are playing France...
But it's still not like and like. It's the dominant partner. When we were talking about this earlier, don't get me wrong, I'm on your side, not his side. But I think to understand this properly, the attitude in Scotland towards England when it comes to this kind of thing, sporting fixtures, is probably closer. It's nothing like the English attitude towards Scotland. It's probably more like the English attitude towards America. It's the bigger, overbearing relative who always assumes that you've got its back and doesn't respect your individuality.
It's weird, though. I mean,
weird.
I mean, I was just thinking about the Scots Guards who charged up Mount Tumbledown against the Argentinians in 1982. Yeah,
many of them were killed.
Eight were killed that night.
Yeah.
It was pretty much one of the toughest battles of that war. I wonder how their relatives feel about him saying that. It's just really immature. And I don't know. I mean,
it's so embedded.
But you say it's embedded. I'm like half Scottish, half English.
Yeah, but
lots of 40% of people in Scotland actually have English roots. So you're like, why would you do that? The whole point is it's not like America and England or American Scotland, because actually not just the distance, but the fact that it's not one united country, and that's what we're called. If you're Great Britain, you kind of assume.
A few weeks' time they're going to be on the same side at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. Yeah, does he want English athletes to fail there? Does he?
I mean, I guess I can't speak for him. I assume not when competing under the same flag. But I mean,
but he doesn't like that flag, does he?
It is embedded. Scots in Scotland, you would struggle to find it. I mean, the anyone but England culture.
Yeah.
But then there's that problem. We are actually then, if you're living in England, you're quite often paying taxes for the Scots as well. So what are they saying? They're saying that give us the money, but we're not going to support you. That's not great, is it?
But it's not about taxes. It's about, again, you're making me defend a position that I don't hold. But it's about knowing that you're the smaller party, knowing that your destiny is increasingly ruled from elsewhere, even your cultural identity.
Yeah, but that's just victimisation, isn't it? It's like, we're the victims, poor us, and that's not what we want.
And also, I know a lot of... I know it's deeply ingrained north of the border, but I know a lot of Scots, north and south of the border, who don't share that attitude, actually, who say, good luck to England. Because they recognise the reality of the Union and the fact that... I know a few. I wouldn't say there were many when I was at school. Right.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it before, but I always remember Andy Murray.
Yeah.
When he made that crack at Wimbledon, and just how bewildered he was at the pushback it received, because it's
when
not,
he said anyone but England.
Yeah, because it's not, and you could hear it with me speaking to that MSP.
Yeah.
He didn't really understand that he was saying
Murray
things
also, people always used to say that he was Scottish when he lost and British when he won.
Yeah,
and that wasn't true. Actually, people supported English people supported Murray as a Brit, a Scottish Brit, and I think there's a bit of kind of persecution complex going on, to say the least.
Well, I mean, I'm keen to hear from more Scots who actually... I mean, Callum MacDonald made this case himself with sort of like tongue-in-cheek. But I'm keen to hear from more people who kind of agree with him. And
also it's Argentina. It's Argentina.
It is Argentina.
Do you know what I mean? It's not. I know we've got connections with Argentina, the Scots, so have the Welsh, so have the English.
Yeah, but who doesn't? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like I can see.
If it was France.
Or maybe Norway.
Norway is the other.
I can see. Scotland's got a lot of when you're in the Shetland Islands, you're nearer to Stavanger than
France
you are.
as well. The old alliance. That's a thing. Argentina.
I don't approve of it, but I can kind of get that. But this is it's not acceptable, mate. Jack, is he called?
Yes, he was. Jack Middleton, fine Scottish name.
Yeah.
While we're on the football, among all the sort of videos of beers flying around pubs after England's goals in the last round against Norway, there was a video of Victoria Beckham sitting in the stadium with the rest of the Beckhams, completely stony-faced, where everyone was cheering all around her. So David Beckham said she was celebrating on the inside. You're our Beckham's correspondent, Robert. Does she speak for the nation, reminding us that not everyone... Was she quietly supporting Norway?
Maybe,
like a Scot?
maybe. I mean, I think Kemi Badenoch was asked where she was watching the football before the Congo match or before the Norway match, can't remember, or Mexico match, and she said, "Well, I'm not interested," which is great because
she said she was actually asleep. I mean, she's interested in football, she said, but she had to go to bed.
It's great. There is a bit of a mythology about this. I had to for work. I went to watch the Mexico game in a pub at 3:00 in the morning. And the idea that the whole country was awake was nonsense.
Yeah. We weren't awake. Yeah,
the whole of, apart from a couple of pubs, the whole of East London, where I was walking around, was asleep.
But if you
my
then
kids
don't
didn't
go,
know there'd been a match until I woke them up and told
yeah,
them.
but you don't go to the match, do you? That's the weird thing. I mean, the odd thing for her is if you don't want to see it, you don't like it.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of people do want to go to that match. So if I was like with my husband and he was like, I'm going to it, and if I thought I was going to be that bored, I'd probably give it to another person. Do you know what I mean? I'd say, why don't you go?
It was odd. What was really odd was David Beckham wearing a suit and tie in 34 degrees with 100% humidity or whatever it was.
That was he was probably being sponsored.
Yeah, I think he's maintaining his dignity as a knight of the realm, isn't he?
Right, is that what it is?
Like that, yeah. But no, Victoria. I mean, she doesn't smile, does she? She's always. I've got a lot of time for her actually, but I think she's done really well for herself. But I wish she. Yeah, it wouldn't hurt you to smile occasionally.
I mean, she's probably... you've got to think that poor woman must have sat through a lot of football.
Yeah.
A lot of football.
Yeah, but she doesn't have to now. That's the weird thing. Why go? And also, I do think it's something slightly depressing if you can't even smile. I mean, there is a sense that, you've got to let your guard down occasionally. Or, it does look like you're just permanently on display and that you can't ever relax.
I've seen videos. She can smile, just not then. Now, look, the part of the show I'm sure we've all been waiting for. Alice and I are going to give our verdict on Robert's new haircut. Before we do, talk us through your haircut and the changes that have come upon you.
I'd got quite long hair, and I'd always wanted it so I could sweep it back in a kind of magisterial,
like a cavalier, even though you are deeply roundhead.
Yes, but that's the problem, because when it gets too cavalier, it starts to curl up at the back and goes a bit ringlety and a bit Charles
like a spaniel.
Yes, like King Charles spaniel even. It has to come off. But my normal hairdresser Talia was away, so my wife did an emergency cut.
Right.
Which basically just involved hacking off the back, and then it just went total bob. Yeah, it was Anna Wintour. Yeah,
right.
It was Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't amazing at all. And so I celebrated Talia's return by having a haircut. I mean, I don't know if anybody's interested in this at all.
I'm fascinated. Go on.
And now I've got what I've got, which you can't quite see because I've got these headphones on. Shall I take them off?
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
Right. So.
How's that?
Alice, I put it to you.
Oh, it's gone a bit Mandelson.
The myth that people have about men and women and hair, I would say, is exactly wrong, because it is women who never notice when men have a haircut, and never notice the difference between their hair now and the hair before. And I put it to you that you, in fact, cannot tell me what is different about Robert's hair from the last time you sat next to him.
So, yeah, I have to say that when I walked in, I thought from the pics it looked like it was quite short. It's not short. It's almost identical. It is. It's not even particularly
I'll tell you what might be going on. I might be over-dramatising this for the sake of writing a column.
Oh, I mean, no, don't say that.
Perish the thought, but...
What we are actually saying is that he's not going bald. That's the really important bit. And that's what the haircut says, is, like, I'm not one of those guys that has to have a sweep over. I'm not having it so short because it's going bald. I don't have to worry about any of this. I'm not receding. Right but Robert has a very full head of hair.
Marvellous,
and I think men notice that, and I think women don't.
I have I have a very full head of hair, just only in some places.
If you lose or put on weight, it's men who notice straight away.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we're invisible to women.
Yeah.
But the fact that you go to a hairdresser, that means you've not got a man setting fire to your ears.
No, I used to go to Ishmael in the market.
Yeah,
it was basically you had a long conversation with him, and then he gave you the same haircut as he does everybody else. Lovely man. But no, recently we've got Talia, and she's. I feed her cats when she's on holiday, so I get it for free as well.
But who handles your ears?
She does, with due appropriate respect.
Okay.
And yeah.
Alice, what's your most dramatic makeover ever been? Have you ever had one as dramatic as Robert's?
Yeah, I have actually been sent, but quite often by the Times, so I don't wear any makeup. So every now and again, someone thinks, oh, God, it'd be great to do a makeover for Alice, but it doesn't ever really work.
You're not wearing any makeup?
No, I don't really wear makeup. And so Leslie Thomas, who was the beauty correspondent, was my flatmate, was constantly sending me off. But I would say no. I've had pretty much the same car. I have to say that my byline photo is the same that it was 25 years ago.
I know, mine's embarrassing. I can't get it updated. It's embarrassing.
No, mine is almost as old as me. I would say. That's us done. Thank you very much indeed, Alice Thomson and Robert Crampon. Just before we go, though, David texts in and he says it looks like the cheapest Dent clock is around £2,000. Some of them go up to nearer £20,000.
Oh, thank you. That's good information.
How many people? How many people in the cabinet?
20, 25?
So
23.
So they're putting 100 quid each.
Yeah,
that's not terrible.
But is that what you want, though? For 2,000 quid, you can get quite a lot of other things.
Yeah.
That's I mean,
nice mini break. Get a nice mini break for that, couldn't you?
Nice bike.
Yeah.
Hell of a haircut.
He got the Legion d'honneur, though, didn't he? So
all right,
that's pretty good.
That's enough. I've already said goodbye. Alice and Robert, thank you very much indeed. This is Hugo Rifkind here on Times Radio.